think I've kind of touched on it a little bit already, but just to kind of complete the thought here, the thing I'd ask people to try is this: to look at, for the next meeting they've got coming up, a meeting that you're looking forward to. If you're an IC or someone, if you're a leader, work on this with someone in your team. The meeting you're coming up, if it's a meeting you're excited about, you haven't met the customer yet, but it looks like a good opportunity from outside in. Spend some time thinking about, right, what do I think are going to be these customers' pains? What do I think the pain that this customer is likely to have? And then think about that from a perspective of what other companies have you worked with who have had those pains that you've solved them for. It has to be relevant. It doesn't necessarily have to be the same industry. So if it's a retailer, it doesn't have to be a retailer, as long as the use cases kind of align or the pain aligns, right? And think about a number of those examples of where you've helped people, where you think the story of how you've helped people would be relevant to the customer you're going to meet with, and think about it from a perspective of being able to tell it from a story perspective. So this was the situation before they worked with us. This was kind of the nightmare state, the bad things that were happening, and really kind of want to dig into the pain that they had, because that will evoke pain in your prospect's mind, because they'll be living it vicariously through the story, right? Which we all know, storytelling is much more powerful than just reading off of slides. So the first thing, storytelling there. The second thing is you're showing you've done your research, because you're going into that opportunity saying, hey, I've done some research here. The third thing is about reference selling. It's about credibility, right? Because you can only, if you're talking about an existing customer, it's reference selling. I've already talked about not calling customers baby ugly, so you're not doing that by talking about somebody else's problems they have. And what all this is going to do, this is conversational, this approach. What this is going to do is going to hopefully lead into conversation that allow you to kind of see whether this is relevant. Are these the sorts of challenges that you're seeing, right? And then you can kind of once you've really done that, you've implicated pain, you've talked about the value you get from solving that pain by proxy of another customer, you can then kind of try and pivot into saying, okay, well, that's that customer and that's the value they got. How about we dig a bit into your situation? So you look at their numbers, you look at their pain, and you try and, and depending on the type of sale you have, depending on the type of product you have, complexity and stuff, will depend on whether this happens in one meeting, or this can sometimes happen over multiple meetings. But the idea is you want to pivot from talking about somebody else's situation to talking about theirs, and using their real metrics, their real numbers, their real problems. So what you actually end up with is kind of the high level beginning of a business case for that customer, which of course is going to help them to qualify whether you can bring value to them. It's going to help them to get buy-in from other people that they want to bring into the conversation, because they'll be able to really clearly articulate what value you can bring, either by the personal value you've attributed to your solution for them, or by retelling the story about how you've helped somebody else. So this is like a great way of using what you're using here, by the way, is you're using the implicate pain in medic, you're using metrics, you're probably using decision criteria to talk about how you do these things. And of course, you'll be talking about other stakeholders as well. So it's a great way of using that to open up the conversations. The great thing about this is this extends to SDRs and BDRs as well. They can use the same thing in their outreach, and it can go all the way through the sales process, because as new people come into the mix who don't have the context of all the stories you've told before, you can use those metrics to very, very quickly bring the new staker on side into exactly what it is that your solution is going to do for them. So that, for me, is and the point here is being on the other side of this for any stakeholder is going to be a good experience. You're going to be, it's going to feel consultative. It's going to feel like you've done your research rather than just peppering them with questions. So that would be a tip that I'd really recommend people try. And the feedback, I mean, it's how I sell, but the feedback from, we've got literally thousands of customers that have been through our programs who say that this is kind of revolutionizing the way in which they go to market.